You act differently around your parents than you do around your friends. You speak differently with your boss than you do with your partner. You have a version of yourself that comes out at parties and a version that exists only when you're alone at 2 a.m. In your whole life, you've been told that one of these is real and the rest are masks. That somewhere underneath the performance, there's a true you waiting to be discovered. There isn't. This is called self-complexity theory, first proposed by psychologist Patricia Linville in 1985. And it doesn't just suggest that you have multiple versions of yourself. It proves that the multiplicity is the self. There is no layer beneath the layers. There is no backstage version standing behind the curtain. The curtain is all there is. And understanding this will dismantle one of the most deeply held assumptions you have about your own identity. Let's start with why your brain does this in the first place. Layer 1. Your brain doesn't have one identity. It is a raster. Most people think of identity as a single coherent thing, a core self that remains stable across situations. This is one of the most persistent myths in popular psychology, and it has no basis in how the brain actually works. Your brain operates on context-dependent activation. This means that different environments, different people, and different social demands activate different neural networks, and each of those networks carries its own behavioral patterns, emotional responses, verbal styles, and even memories. When you walk into your childhood home, your brain doesn't just recognize the environment. It loads the version of you that was built for that environment. The vocabulary shifts. The posture changes. The emotional range narrows or expands depending on what that context trained you to feel. This is not performance. This is architecture. Your brain stores identity the same way it stores skills, in context-specific modules. The you that exists at work is not pretending. It is a fully functional version of you that was built through years of adaptation to that specific environment. The you that exists with your closest friend is another fully functional version, built through a completely different set of experiences and demands. Patricia Linville's research showed that people who have greater self-complexity, meaning more distinct self-aspects across different roles and contexts, are actually more psychologically resilient. They handle stress better. They recover from failure faster. Not because they are better at being fake, but because when one version of them takes a hit, the others remain intact. The damage doesn't spread across the whole system because the system was never one thing to begin with. You are not one person wearing different masks. You are different people sharing one body. And that's not a disorder. That's the design. Layer 2. The myth of authenticity is a cognitive trap. Somewhere in the last few decades, popular culture built a religion around authenticity. Be yourself. Find your true self. Live your truth. The assumption underneath all of it is that there exists one real version of you and everything else is compromise or corruption. This idea feels right. It feels noble. And it is completely unsupported by cognitive science. Psychologist Mark Leary at Duke University has written extensively about what he calls the curse of the self. His research shows that the concept of a single authentic self is not a discovery. It's a construction. Your brain builds the feeling of having a core self because it needs narrative continuity. Without that feeling, you'd experience every context shift as an identity crisis. You'd walk into work and not know who to be. You'd come home and feel like a stranger in your own living room. So your brain generates the illusion of a central character, a protagonist that moves through all the scenes. And you believe in that character so completely that when your behavior changes between contexts, you interpret it as dishonesty rather than adaptation. This is the trap. When you feel like you're being fake around certain people, that feeling isn't evidence that you've lost yourself. It's evidence that two of your context-specific identities are in conflict, and your brain, desperate to maintain the illusion of a single self, is labeling one of them as false. But the label is arbitrary. Your brain doesn't know which one is real because neither of them is more real than the other. They are both real. They were both built by real experiences in real environments. The only thing that's fake is the belief that one of them has priority. And here's why this matters. When people chase authenticity, when they try to find the one true version of themselves, they often do it by eliminating the versions that feel uncomfortable. They cut off the part of themselves that's quiet around new people. They suppress the part that's aggressive under pressure. They reject the part that's needy in relationships. And they call this process growth. But it's not growth. It's amputation. They are cutting away functional pieces of their own psychological architecture because those pieces don't match the protagonist their brain invented. Layer 3. The version of you that exists when you're alone is not more real. It's just unobserved. This is the part that people resist the most. Because if none of your social selves are fake, then surely the version of you that exists in total solitude, the one with no audience, no expectations, no performance, that must be the real one. It's not. It's just another context. Solitude is an environment, and like every environment, it activates a specific version of you. The person you are at 2 a.m. alone with your thoughts is not your true self any more than the person you are at a dinner party. It's the version of you that was built to operate in the absence of social input. It has its own patterns, its own emotional range, its own distortions. In fact, research on self-reflection by psychologist Timothy Wilson at the University of Virginia has shown that the version of you that appears in solitude is often the least accurate self-assessor. When people introspect, when they turn inward and try to understand their own motivations, they frequently confabulate. They generate explanations that feel true, but have no connection to the actual mechanisms driving their behavior. This is the same interpreter module from Gazzaniga's split-brain research that we discussed before. It doesn't stop running when you're alone. It runs harder. Because in solitude there are no external checks on the narrative. No one to contradict the story. The interpreter has total editorial control, and it uses it. The person you are when you're alone is not the unfiltered truth. It's the version of you that exists when the editor has no competition. Layer 4. Other people don't bring out a fake version of you. They build a real one. There is a concept in developmental psychology called relational self theory, developed by researchers including Susan Anderson and Serena Chen. It shows that your sense of self is not formed in isolation and then carried into relationships. It's the opposite. Your self is formed by relationships. Every significant person in your life has co-authored a version of you. The way you behave around your mother is not a mask over the real you. It is a version of you that your mother's presence literally helped construct. The neural pathways were shaped by thousands of interactions with that specific person. The emotional responses were calibrated to that specific relational dynamic. When she walks into the room, your brain doesn't put on a costume. It activates a self that would not exist if she didn't exist. This means the people in your life are not obstacles to your authenticity. They are architects of your identity. Every friendship, every relationship, every recurring social interaction is building a version of you that is no less legitimate than any other. And when you lose someone, through death, through distance, through the slow erosion of a friendship, you don't just lose them. You lose the version of yourself that only existed in their presence. That self doesn't transfer. It doesn't get reassigned to someone else. It goes dormant. And part of what makes grief so disorienting is not just the absence of the other person. It's the absence of who you were when they were here. Now let's turn this on you. Think about who you are right now. The identity you've been defending. The version of yourself you call real. The one you think about when someone asks you to describe yourself. Now ask, who built that version? Which context does it belong to? Which people were in the room when those traits got wired in? And how many other versions of you are sitting in cold storage right now? Archived because the context that built them no longer exists. You've been treating identity like a treasure hunt. Like somewhere deep inside you there's a golden core and everything else is noise. But there is no core. There are only versions. Some are active. Some are dormant. Some are in conflict with each other. And the one you've been calling real is just the one that gets the most screen time. The question was never who is the real you. The question is which version of you is running right now and who built it and what would happen if the context changed tomorrow. Because it will change. And when it does, a version of you that doesn't exist yet will wake up. And it will feel like it was always there. And you'll believe it. Because you always do.